Good evening. I'm now calling the April 14th regular council meeting to order. If any of you were trying to get in our live stream, we've had a few technical difficulties. I think they've been taken care of now, and we will begin. First order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Manager or CAO Thompson, are there any changes for the agenda?
Yes, Your Worship, if we could move the solar PPV item to the first item under business, which would be 6.1. If we could add another business item to 6.7, that would be infrastructure stimulus funding opportunities.
Okay.
And finally, an additional in-camera item, which will be under FOIP section 21. So I would ask that the in-camera items be in order. Section 19, Section 21, and then Section 21, Section 24, and then Section 19. In that order.
Okay. And I believe that you also have a delegation that you want to add as well?
Your Worship, the delegation is part of the solar PPV right now.
Very good. Councillor Ahal?
Oh, I just wanted to note that two of the councillors on the, they can't hear us. I don't know if you saw that message as well.
So we're having some technical difficulties right now.
Can you guys hear us? Because we can't hear you.
We're trying to correct that right now. Can you hear anything when we speak?
I can hear you, Laura. I don't hear the other group. They're probably working on connecting well.
I hear you as well.
I hear.
But you can't hear.
Marina says that Keith is working on it.
Can you hear us now? David, can you hear us? Panache?
I do.
Okay. Well, it was,
That was Will.
David Panache.
No, that was Will that said it.
That was Will that answered.
That was it?
I heard somebody, there's some echoing. I wonder if I went online and watched it online with headphones.
It's not you that's causing the difficulty, Councillor Taylor.
Can anybody remotely, other than Councillor Taylor, hear us now?
But they can hear us.
We got nothing from them.
Didn't hear him?
Yep.
So Councillors Sende, Swab, and Hoover, can you hear me now?
David Panache.
And we'll let you introduce them when we move into that. So I was, Councillor Wolford.
Okay, it's not. I'd like to add 13.4, section 17.
So to recap for the councillors who were not online at the time, we have a couple of changes and additions. Under removing the solar PV to 6.1. And we are also adding 6.7. What's the name of that project application?
Infrastructure stimulus funding opportunities.
Infrastructure stimulus funding opportunities. In addition, we have confidential items, and would you go over the order again, CEO Thompson?
The FOIP section 21, FOIP section 24, FOIP section 17, and FOIP section 19.
So with that, would Would somebody like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? And I see Councillor Schwab. We can't hear you, Councillor Schwab. Okay, we have a problem now with councillors talking to us.
I can hear you.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Richard, can you hear me?
We can now, yes.
Right,
Keith,
I'll move to accept the agenda as amended.
thank you. Any debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Just for a matter of housekeeping to EA Peck, what do we have to do for yourself in order to make it a legitimate motion, seeing as you can't see the hands or anything?
That's fine.
That's fine as long as we, okay.
Here.
That is carried unanimously.
Yea or nay would be preferred.
Would you like to have a yea or nay?
But if you can see them and you're catching that, that's fine.
If we have any opposition, then we'll go through the count. And that way you'll be able to record it as applicable. Moving along, business arising from minutes, 5.1. We don't have a delegation. And Director DeBresser.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you, Worship and councillors. Before you have the original assessment review board bylaw, which is bylaw 124620. At the March 16th standing committee, the motion was given for forward to formal approval. Follow-up to that was much report at the regular council meeting. Council gave the first reading of bylaw 124620. Tonight, administration is recommending second and third reading. I will not go through the memo again, but I'll open up for any additional questions that you may have.
Council, are there any questions regarding information or the memo? Not seeing any. We're asked to give second and third reading. Does somebody wish to make a motion for second reading? Councillor Stenday.
So I will move that council give second reading to bylaw 1246/20, being the Regional Assessment Review Board for the town of Blackfalds.
Is there any debate on that motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously.
In favor.
Thank you very much. So, Councillor Hoover, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm prepared to make the second motion. Motion that council move to give the third reading to bylaw 124620, being the Regional Assessment Review Board for the town of Blackfalds.
Any debate on the motion? All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. And Will?
Yeah, I was in favor, sorry.
We'll go to you at the end of everyone else and we'll ask for a yay or nay from you.
Okay.
Moving to business, we will go to the 6.1 solar PV and Manager Krekulich.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to just pass on thank you for all the work with the COVID stuff, and we really appreciate your help and all that stuff. But going forward here, just want to say, back in the fall of 2019, we had some budget numbers that we were kind of concerned about regarding our solar PV. So we had David Dinesh from Skyfire take a look at our power and electrical bills, right, and try to determine what is going on with our solar production. And with that, he created a report. So I'll pass that report on to David to present.
Great, I'm not sure if, thanks Rick, I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to review the report or if you have it in front of you there.
but I can kind of walk through the highlights and then take any questions afterwards, or during if you like as well. So there was concerns regarding the performance of the systems as well as the billing, as to whether you guys are being credited correctly on your bill for the energy produced. I started the report with just a little bit of a refresher on the microgeneration regulation, which these systems are connected here. The way that regulation works is you're connecting the system load side of your existing meter. So the energy produced is first consumed on site, where you're saving on buying electricity from the grid. And then anytime you're producing more power than you're consuming, you export that energy to the grid, and you see a credit on your bill for that production. So the revenue kind of comes in two streams. One from the savings on your bill from what you haven't had to purchase from the grid, and secondly, for the credits for what you export to the grid and that the meter records as exported from each of these buildings. The energy produced and consumed on site, you're saving on all of the variable components of your bill. So you're saving on the retail charges as well as the variable components of your distribution transmission charges. And so all of that is being considered with respect to the finances of these systems and how they've performed to date. So we looked back and charted here consumption and production for the past 3 years roughly. So prior to the solar and then watching the impact with the solar installation moving forward here. And this was done for both the Civic Cultural Center as well as the Abbey Center. And then we looked at the savings on the bill and how that was showing on your bills. We also contacted and worked closely with retailer AUMA with respect to the credits, and just to make sure that was showing on your bill correctly. There was some concerns that was taking place accurately, as well as there was some sort of funny settlement things happening on your bills that we just wanted to make sure that on the consumption side as well, that you guys weren't seeing any additional charges you shouldn't have been. So, the key results of the investigation were that the systems overall have exceeded projected revenues from what was originally estimated through our initial feasibility studies prior to the contracting and installation of these projects. Just to give a sense, the Civic Center fell short of the energy production target, but met the net revenue target. The Abbey Center project fell a little bit short of the energy production target as well, but exceeded net revenue target by 11%. The Civic Center is producing about 25% of the annual electrical energy for that building, and the Abbey Center is producing approximately 21% of the Abbey Center's annual electricity consumption. So a decent amount of the buildings there are now solar powered. The primary reasons for the production falling a little bit short of expectations was with respect to maintenance issues and corrective maintenance issues with respect to the inverters and optimizers in this case are usually a little bit higher in year one with these types of electronics. There's a burn-in rate where we see a higher failure rate in the first year or two, and then the bathtub effect or pretty low failure rate through most of the life expectancy until we start to see higher failure rates again towards the end of life. It wasn't surprising to see the odd failure here with some of the equipment. The bigger issues lie with sort of the responsiveness on the O&M side, and that was one of our key recommendations from this report, was to consider perhaps a more comprehensive operations and maintenance plan for these projects with more regular check-ins on the performance and just better oversight on the production in order to make sure we're catching any of these issues and nipping them in the bud before they start to impact the production too much. So overall, again, from a revenue perspective, the systems are performing better than expected, but there certainly is some optimization that can take place with respect to responsiveness on operations and maintenance.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions regarding this? Councillor Taylor?
Yes, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
My question is, is when we initially looked at this program, we were looking at a payback for our investment of approximately 11 or 12 years. Where are we sitting now with the calculations that we have today?
Yeah, so I didn't actually go back and revisit from a payback perspective where we'd be sitting. So I can't speak to that, you know, that metric without doing a bit more review of the numbers. But the annual revenue is a little bit higher than we expected. So and I know that the systems came in slightly under budget. So I expect we're performing a little bit better than we originally expected. The payback is a hard thing to project in general, just with our deregulated electricity market. You know, pricing on the grid and retail prices can fluctuate pretty substantially from year to year. But just knowing that the systems have produced more revenue than expected and that we came in under budget during the procurement process, I would expect that we're ahead of the initially projected payback numbers.
Councillor Quinn?
Go ahead.
So I hear that it's a little bit harder to calculate. When would we be able to have that information?
Well, I could go back and look at those charts to understand, you know, maybe what a new projected payback might look like. You know, typically the way we like to present these economics is a levelized cost of electricity, because that analysis is based on knowns. We know what the systems cost, we know what they produce, we know what they cost to maintain, and so we can calculate the cost of the energy produced from that system with a high degree of accuracy. When we start projecting forward into the future and guessing at what future electricity prices can be, that's where it becomes a lot more uncertain. And I do recall, you know, within one of these council meetings, the discussion around the economics, and at that time, you know, there was a lot of weight put on those levelized cost numbers, understanding that, you know, if the coal fades out and what have you, that locking in at a lower rate for the electricity, you know, made a lot of sense to the council at that time. But again, I'm happy to go back and review those numbers and provide a bit more color on that, if you like.
Okay, thank you, because we're constantly evaluating the use of solar panels and the cost of investment and payback period, and, you know, all the stuff that comes with it. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other councillors have any questions? So tonight it will be just accepted for information.
That's correct, Your Worship.
Councillor Powell?
I'm willing to accept the Skyfire Energy presentation as presented. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, David. Any debate on the motion? All those in favor? Councillor Taylor?
Yes, in favor.
Carried unanimously. Moving on to 6.2, COVID community update, and we ask Manager Morrison to come forward.
Good evening, Your Worship and council members. Just a brief update locally on COVID-19 coronavirus. We continue to meet regularly with the Provincial Operations Center as well as the regional DEMs through video conferencing, ensuring we are working together to provide a common messaging and actions. We're meeting twice a week now with the Provincial Operations Center as well as once a week regionally. So home county regional emergency partners, all the DEMs are getting together and just going over, making sure we're following similar patterns and similar messages. One good news story is since we last talked, was we started birthday parade gatherings. Fire department's been organizing that through the volunteers. We've had tremendous success with over 19 having been done as of today. Today there were 7 RCMP patrol vehicles, 1 fire truck, and 1 municipal enforcement Very well received in the community. I participated last week, and the look on the face of a 16-year-old girl was just something I hadn't seen before. She was just ecstatic, bouncing around, and yeah, it was well worth it. So we'll continue that as long as we can, as long as we have the capacity and it doesn't become too large of a burden. We are encouraging those that wanted to go to the fire department's Facebook page to make a request or send a message in directly to the fire department. They're not going to be searching other sites, other Facebook sites to determine who's asking. It just becomes too onerous, and it is the volunteers that are organizing this. We have, as a municipality, been receiving a few complaints with relation to individuals disobeying public health orders or a perception of disobeying. I'll give you an example. We have a few gentlemen that normally have coffee at A&W. They have chosen to park their vehicles in the A&W parking lot, get their coffee. They set out lawn chairs, keeping well distanced apart. And I think on Thursday when we had the complaint come in, there was, I think, in total 6 of them, and they were well spaced apart, not causing any issues and not breaching any of the regulations that were put in place. We've also had complaints of kids playing hockey on the rink, and again, as these come in, municipal enforcement's investigating just to determine if there is an issue or something that we have to address. And so far, things are working out fine. As of today, we did choose to declare our ECC open. The reason being behind this was on Thursday, we received an email from AEMA, our regional representative, advising that the message had changed, and their disaster recovery branch had recently advised that municipalities that had opened an ECC would have an easier time recovering costs if this is offered through the province down the road. Now, this is a different message than what we had originally, so we chose to, rather than create any complications, to open it. It's not going to change anything. The way we've been doing business is pretty much running a virtual ECC.
Could you just give the actual definition of what that?
Emergency Coordination Center.
Thank you.
Yes. So all it's going to mean essentially is that once a week we're going to have to provide a report to the province, the EMA, on what the municipalities are doing, and we've been keeping track of that, so it's not going to be an issue. All departments are currently capturing costs associated with COVID-19, which includes, but not limited to, overtime, purchases directly associated to COVID-19, lost revenue as a result of closures, and any other costs resulting from COVID-19. This is important that we maintain this as we progress, because should the province put a program in place where we can recover costs, it will be essential for us to have that ready to go. All municipal departments are continuing to monitor any challenges or concerns they have related to COVID-19. Staff is being advised as required to stay at home if sick. Currently, we only have 3 that are in self-isolation, and all 3 of them, hopefully, cross their fingers, should be back this week. Departments are continuing to work on their business continuity, with a few departments having completed them already. And what that'll allow us to do is to be able to determine how we can move things around should we have a loss in staff. It'll allow us to continue to keep the essential parts of those departments working, and hopefully a crossover of staff with training. Current direction is organization is still to encourage illness prevention in the workplace and monitor information from reputable sources. So what we've been doing is continually with the communications department is updating our webpage with information from reputable sources, and we're providing that information as well to staff and the public to ensure that they're getting the information from government agencies where it should be coming from. The RCMP continue to monitor their staffing levels, and they're doing well. Currently, they've got, I'm advised, the highest staffing level that they've had in a long time, so they're quite excited about that. It's unfortunate that it's during this time, because what they're doing right now is they've got their staff working 1 week to alternating to ensure that they have and are able to maintain that staffing level. I'm advised, a good news story here again, A&W is advised from April 20th to 26th, they'll be donating $1 from all teen burgers sold to Blackfalds, and the money will all be going to Blackfalds FCSS. FCSS is continuing to work closely with the food bank, assisting them in their business continuity plan. As well, the food bank is operating the first and third Wednesday of every month. Our communications department has continued to work tirelessly at providing information to our residents and staff, as well as fielding many questions coming from the public. Our economic development officer has continued to do a great job with our local businesses who are feeling the pinch, as we all know. She's been providing them with updates regularly, also contacting them personally to see how they're doing. And from all reports, it's really being reported well. Provincially, I'll just give a quick overview. We've all been getting provincial operations center reports. Effective immediately, they're expanding eligibility for testing to anyone in Alberta who has a fever, cough, shortness of breath, runny nose, or sore throat. With this change, they're hoping and expect to see a further increase in the number of cases confirmed every day as a result, which only is logical given that they're going to be doing a lot more tests and not testing specifically people that they have been. They're going to be testing anyone that shows any symptoms. An increase had already been seen as a result of their expansion in tests that they'd implemented last week, and that was more focused on Calgary area. Currently, the percentage of tests that have come back positive is remaining approximately at 2% for the past several weeks, which is good news. The hope in testing all symptomatic Albertans will give a more complete picture of the trend over time. Another thing they look at is the rate of hospitalization, which is currently a more accurate indicator. And that trend, the total case numbers in the coming days, they'll be releasing in the coming days. Premier Kenney announced, as you all know, over the weekend that the province of Alberta will be sending some protective personal equipment to British Columbia, Quebec, and Ontario, those provinces that are in dire need. Alberta is in a fortunate situation that they planned well ahead, and they had ordered equipment well in advance, and that has all come in now, so they're finding themselves in a position where they're suitably in a position to provide our neighboring provinces with some assistance. Another thing of interest is Alberta's launched the Alberta Hope trial in an effort to assess efficiency and safety of oral hydroxychloroquine, for the treatment of SARS-CoV-2, positive patients for the prevention of severe COVID-19 disease. The study will recruit 1,600 Albertans to determine whether a prescribed 5-day treatment of this can prevent hospitalization for those at highest risk of developing severe illness. So it's good to see that we're actually starting to get some human tests, and it shows that we're getting much closer to at least a vaccine of some sort. Alberta-wide, as of this evening, there was 138 new cases that were reported in the last 24 hours, bringing the number to 1,870 in Alberta. Unfortunately, they reported 2 additional deaths, bringing the total deaths in Alberta to 48. Of interest, 30 of those deaths have been in continuing care facilities, which, as we all know, the Canadian government and the provincial governments have all increased the regulations around all these care facilities to ensure we keep our people healthy in those facilities. With the provincial resources currently stretched due to COVID-19, preventative measures were announced today to better equip Alberta's response to spring wildfires. An additional $5 million is being invested, which will enable them to hire and train 200 high-quality firefighters. A fire ban was put in place in the forest protection area, provincial parks, and protected areas. As well, off-road vehicle ban on Crown land in the forest protection area, and that will come into effect as of tomorrow. Fines have been increased to reflect this. Federally, I have note Bill C-14, COVID-19 Emergency Response Act, received royal assent on April 11th. $50 million is going to be provided to help farmers, fish harvesters, and all food production and processing employers implement measures necessary to follow the mandatory 14-day isolation period required of all workers arriving from abroad. Anyone that is listening, these businesses require bringing in workers from other countries, and in order to do that, they need to maintain a 14-day quarantine. This will provide these businesses with the necessary funds to be able to do that and still keep their business running. They also announced $130 million to the 3 territories to provide additional supports with reference to COVID-19. I won't go into detail about those. Of note, one thing that I find interesting, all the chief medical officers are kind of providing the same message. Dr. Teresa Tam, the chief public health officer for Canada, or the Public Health Service Agency of Canada, on April 12th, she said, "What each of us does now impacts the trajectory of this epidemic. By following tried and true public health advice, we can all do our part to help save lives. Keep staying at home as much as possible, practicing good hygiene, and connecting with your loved ones virtually. By staying apart, we can get through this together."
Thank you very much, Manager Henderson. Councilors, do you have any questions that you want to pose? Councilor Schwab?
I just want to thank the Blackfalds Fire Department and the RCMP and our peace officers for the birthday parades. I've gone to a few of them and they're fabulous. The kids are so excited and it's just a great way to celebrate birthdays with the social distancing. So I just say kudos to our community. Thank you so much.
I'll pass that on for sure.
Thank you, Councilor Schwab. Any other questions?
I missed that part about the lawn chairs. Was that the seniors over at A&W having coffee?
Yes, it was.
And was there any issues?
No, there wasn't. Like I said, we received a complaint, and as you know, we have to investigate any complaints that come in. So we did a drive-by on 2 separate occasions, and they were simply sitting having coffee, well-distanced, and not causing any issue. They were abiding by all regulations that have been put in place.
I'm glad to hear that. My father-in-law is one of the group, one of those guys out there. I probably would have heard about it if there was a problem. I just want to say kudos to everybody. I know these are difficult times, staff and everybody having to really write the book as we're going into the story, but it's, I think everybody's done a great job and I'm proud of them.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Not seen any. Could we have a motion to receive this for information, Deputy Mayor?
I'll move to accept the report as information.
Bid on the motion? All in favor? Councillor Taylor?
In favor?
Carried unanimously. We'll now move on to 6.3, quarterly report, Director's quarterly report. Putting it up on the board. We'll just announce each area, and then if any of you have questions on it, please feel free to put up your hand. So the first area would be the community services. Councillors, do you have any questions on community services? Moving down, the second area, corporate services. And the final area, Council, do you have any questions on that? I had one question on this directed at the infrastructure services, and just moving down to it. You mentioned that you, through CO Thompson, you mentioned that you went to the conference and you found out that there was approval period for appeals and approvals, or pardon me, there was a waiting period for appeals and approvals, and you gave us 4 points on it, and I'm wondering whether you feel that will affect our operation as we move forward.
Thank you, Worship. So yes, as of right now, we're still accepting development permits. We're still processing those permits. But any changes to the MGA with that timeframe of waiting till October 1st for appeals does affect development permits. But essentially, it looks like the minister and others involved are going to be looking at changing those provisions or adjusting them to make the development easier to be done with the new COVID world.
Thank you very much. Council, did you have any questions on any of the three reports that we received? Not seen any. Could we have a motion to accept for information? Deputy Mayor?
I'll move to accept the director's quarterly reports as information.
Debate? All in favor? Councillor Taylor?
In favor?
That is carried unanimously. Moving on to the 6.4 outdoor rink relocation.
Thank you, Your Worship. And
Thank you,
Council.
Manager Hendel.
Hi. Yeah, so we're finally here. We've been took this back a couple times to rec board to discuss location, and we finally the location was picked, and then we went and discussed with the public. Went to an open house, and we had some interest on Facebook, on social media, and one person came out to the open house to show their support for this project. And so we've through the open house and working with my staff, it was decided to go with the northeast location of Willow Park. Harvest Meadows, Willow Park. I think Willow Park is a little more commonly known because it's on Willow Road. So I think we're gonna direct the staff, my group of staff, to call it Willow Park from now on, so we're not confusing anybody. Yeah, so I went to a special rec board meeting on March 18th, and it was approved. That location was approved, and now we're just coming to council to get the final approval to move forward with that project.
Thank you. Council, you have the proposal in front of you. Are there any questions? Councilor Rappel.
Thank you. So my question is about the community gardens that will be in the same location. are we thinking that those plots will be open for this year?
That's the plan, is, one of the voters kind of starting to put that to me to get that project moving. So,
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I have one. With the parks and playgrounds being closed at this particular point, do you feel that we should move ahead with the full development, including paving of the ice rink, or should we just move forward to the graveling it and putting it down and saving that expense until we find a future time? What would be the ramifications of that move?
well, we've started taking down the boards of the existing outdoor rink. That project is started, because that had to happen with the multiplex project moving forward. I haven't heard of any issues with the contractors not being able to do the work. If it's a money discussion, that's not for me to move any comments on that. But the budget was approved last year for this year, and things are looking. We've gotten prices in to move the project forward.
Theo Thompson, has there been any discussion at administration level?
No, I think any discussion we've had is to move forward with it. The outdoor rinks are very well used, and I think not having that facility in place for next winter will be some shortcomings for the public. Right now we're dealing with the virus, but I think we should all be optimistic that hopefully we'll come to close prior to summer, and that we can continue on business as usual.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councillor Taylor?
No questions.
Is someone prepared to make a motion to that about this? And Councillor Stende?
So I'm prepared to approve the Rec, Culture and Parks Board recommendation to move the outdoor rink to the northeast side of Harvest Meadows Willow Park.
Motion is in order. Is there any debate on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Councillor Taylor?
In favor.
That is carried unanimously. Moving forward to 6.5, bylaw 124520, multiplex expansion. Director DeBressa.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Before you have the borrowing bylaw, which is 124520, which is the multiplex expansion borrowing bylaw. At the March 16th Standing Committee, the motion was given to bring this forward for formal approval, and administration recommends that you give first reading tonight for the borrowing bylaw. At the March 24th meeting, Council did award the construction management services to Delmore Construction Legal Builders in the amount of $23.8 million. The funding sources for this project, as identified in the borrowing bylaw, is just under $2.4 million from Macomb County. Developer contribution, $1 million, water reserve, $300,000, and the remainder intervention costs. As you may be aware, borrowing bylaws are governed by section 251 and 258 of the MGA. Recent changes have allowed us to advertise this borrowing bylaw electronically, and we are recommending that the physical copy be posted on the entrance of this building as well for visual inspection. Once first reading has been given, we must advertise for 15 days, and those two methods there will contribute to 15 days of advertising. That gives the public the ability for any comments or concerns that they do have with the borrowing bylaw.
I'll stop you right there because I do have a question that was posed to me. The public has 15 days to provide the comments and a valid petition. We realize that under these conditions, the development of that type of petition would be pretty well impossible, given the restrictions that people have as far as going to residents and that type of thing. What is the government's position and the MGA's position and our position regarding the basically the difficulty that citizens might have if they wish to move forward with such an action? And I will open it up to anybody on administration who wishes to comment on that.
Yeah, so section 223 of the MGA talks about the petitions and how normally you would actually bring forward a petition. It's a little bit difficult with the current situations for somebody to go around and get, the requirement is 10% of the population has to sign this petition to make it valid, and then we go on from there. Everything is driven through the office of the CAO. Whether we do that electronically, whether somebody did want to bring forward a petition, whether the electronic means will still substantiate the MGA requirements. That I am not sure of, but I'm sure the electronic kind of information going back and forth through the CAO office would substantiate a petition.
CEO Thompson?
Your worship, but we can verify that with municipal affairs, but I believe that would be the case.
And so that will be put out in really clear language with the notice of the borrowing bylaw, so that anybody who wished to move forward would have an understanding of what they needed to do.
Yes, your worship.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Director Dresser.
No worries at all. So yeah, as previously mentioned, interest rates are in favour at the moment. They have dropped substantially. The annual debt servicing of the total borrowing will just be over $1 million over a 25-year term. The question arose at the standing committee on the current debentures that we do have on the Abbey Centre and the RCMP building. In 2017, these were refinanced at lower rates on a 9-year term and an 8-year term for the RCMP building. So being the rates are just over 2% for the Abbey Centre and 2.9% for the 8-year term on the protective services building. At this time, it must be noted that the RCMP lease is lease payments are directed by the debenture payment as well. So at this time, I'm happy to leave those debentures as they are. So the administration's recommendation tonight is that council move to accept the recommendation of administration to give first reading to bylaw 124520, being the borrowing bylaw for the Blackfalds multiplex expansion for the town of Blackfalds. And with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions or comments that you wish to make? Not seeing any? Oh, sorry, Councilor Taylor, would you go ahead?
Just one comment, just in the breakout in the costing. The one thing that, and we've talked about this before, is it doesn't show anything about the cost of the library as a portion of the project, and just a distinction, because some people associate the total cost going to the arena when actually it's a shared cost over 3 projects, which is the library, the arena, and the work that we're doing with the road and the parking lot. I guess you can even break it into 4 if you break it right down to it, but it's realizing that there's more to this project than just the arena.
Administration, do you have any comment on that?
Your worship, through Councilor Taylor, it's identified in the bylaw itself, in the first paragraph, multiplex expansion, which includes the new arena and public library. We haven't broke it out to show specifically that cost apportioned to the library within the document itself. We can, when we bring it back for second and third reading, we could amend it to show that in the report itself, if the council wishes.
Is that your request, Councilor Taylor?
Yeah, that would really make me happy. I think it would clarify things for the public, because the information being correct and accurate, I think, is really important on this. So I'd appreciate that if that could be put back in there. Thank you.
If this is, CEO Thompson, if this moves forward, then would you like that addressed in the motion that we ask it to come back, or do you need that direction?
I don't think we need that direction, Your Worship. We can easily provide that.
Thank you. So I will be voting in favor of this motion. I believe that it's a project that will inject funds into our community. I think it's an exciting project. We will be moving forward, and we're basically preparing our community for success in the near future. And so I will be in favor of this motion, and I'm excited to see it coming forward. With that, I'd ask if any of the councillors wish to make a motion to that effect. Councillor Stenday, let me rephrase that. Make a motion. Go ahead, Councillor Stenday.
I will happily move to accept the recommendation of administration to give first reading to bylaw 1245/20, being the borrowing bylaw for the Blackfalds multiplex expansion for the town of Blackfalds.
Thank you very much. Is there any debate on that motion? All those in favor? Councillor Taylor?
In favor?
Opposed? And Councillor Schwab, or could I have the folks on the screen please note their motion in favor or opposed? Councillor Stenday?
In favor.
Councillor Schwab?
Opposed.
Councillor Hoover?
In favor.
Councillor Taylor, you voted in favor?
That's correct, I'm in favor.
And
In favor.
in favor? Thank you. That motion is carried. We will now move forward to the property tax bylaw.
Thank you, Worship and Council. Before you, you have the 2020 tax rate bylaw, which is 124720. I just want to mention that this bylaw has been presented on our last discussion, which happened in December, and I know a lot of things have happened in between then and now, and we are open to suggestions if the way it's written is not to your appetite. So yeah, in February we got our assessment roll from our external property assessor. We updated the assessment, and as a result, we've got new mill rates for 2020. Some of the decisions that we will be looking for tonight is the points there that the recommended tax rate increase back in December was that 1%. The split between residential and non-residential property taxes is at 1.78%, 1.7%. It's a difference in the mill rate. The 2020 property tax education requisition has been going back and forth since the COVID-19 pandemic has happened. Initially, the province released a 3.5% increase. They have come to the table and reduced that to a 0% increase. However, that looks a little bit different from the town of Blackfalds. If you recall, last year it was the election year, and the budget didn't get passed until later in the year. So administration had a few options for council, whether it's to estimate the requisition, go with the previous year's requisition, or go with the equalised mill rates that the province set. As a result of that decision made last year, the town actually over-collected on the residential residential education taxes, and under-collected on the residential. Sorry, over-collected on the non-residential, under-collected on the residential. The bylaw itself is being written that we're going to reduce the non-residential mill rate down by the amount that we over-collected. And however, the amount that we didn't collect on the residential side, we have left that in an account sitting over here, and we'll recoup that in a previous year, in a future year. The province has also indicated that municipalities should set rates as normal, but defer collection of 50% of the non-residential school taxes. So the recommendation that we'll seek for third is deferred collection of the 2020 property taxes until December 31st, which will essentially satisfy the province there. Administration also recommends keeping the property tax due date as June 30th, even though it's an arbitrary, there will be no penalties applied after that date until December 31st. We still want to keep that date consistent year over year. Just there'll be compression. If you have a December 31st, you may have another tax bill June 30th. With that compression, that's 6 months.
With that extension of time, will that mean there will be no penalty assessed to any of the resident who is not paying?
Correct. So it is our direction that all property taxes, both current, 2020 current year, as well as arrears, will be alleviated with penalties until December 31st.
Thank you.
Okay, table 2 on the calculations there, talk about the assessment base and the changes in the assessment base. There was a slight deflationary factor in the residential base, but just 0.4%. Whereas the non-residential property values rose 952,000 or 0.61%. Overall, these swings are pretty stable. New assessment. So new assessment provides new revenue for the town. On the residential side, the assessment base grew 1.14%, and the non-residential grew just over 3%. And that new assessment comes at $162,000 worth of new revenue. So in saying that, the proposed revenue from this property taxes bylaw is just over $11 million, and that's consistent with our budget. I'd just like to know that the spring adjustments will be coming at the second and third reading. So we wanted to get a first reading before any direction that will come out of this meeting will be reflected coming up at the end of May, end of April, I should say. In saying that, property tax notices will go out at the start of May, once the second and third reading has been met. On a home based on $291,000, the 1% tax increase on the municipal side equals $26 per year. Because the school requisition taxes were undercollected in 2019, to collect what we should have collected, they will see a $26 increase also. The seniors requisition is reducing by $1. So overall, on a $291,000 house, the combined increase is $51 for the year. Out of that distribution, 74% of your tax dollars that we do collect go to the town, where 25% goes to the province and 1% goes to the seniors facilities. So the administration recommendation tonight is that council move to accept the administration's recommendation to give first reading to the 2020 property tax rate bylaw 124720. And with that, I will open up for any questions.
Thank you. Council, are there any questions or comments? Councilor Pell.
Thank you. Sorry, could you just clarify the school requisitions that we were short on last year? We're going to be collecting those this year, or we're going to be deferring those, or not deferring them, but making them up another year?
So this year, the mill rate said that we should collect the appropriate amount for 2019. The mill rate is not set that we recoup what we should have recouped last year. So there will be a balance going forward.
Are there,
it's a lot of moving parts.
Are there any other questions or comments at this point? So I'd like to throw something out there. Currently, we have the province of Alberta who has reduced their increase to 0. We have a lot of moving parts within our town that we're not sure where they're going to come out with. If council were to choose to go to a 0% for this year, would it be possible for us to pick it up somewhere in our operations and find a spot? Because everybody, including administration, is really feeling for the folks who are out there who are having difficulties right now. And we recognize that even though 1% is less than the cost of living increase, that this is a totally different world than it was in December when we passed the initial finding. What is administration's feeling as far as being able to find a way to recoup or to deal if council were to throw you this at this late date?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Definitely it has been on our minds quite frequently. We feel that this is achievable if the council does want to go in that direction, and that will be reflected in the spring adjustments. So, sorry, to put it in some context, 1% tax increase equals about $107,000 worth of revenue for the town. We have had prelim discussions on what areas that we could cut back in, and we feel that will be achievable.
Okay. So I will throw that, or I will leave that with council as we move forward with the motion that's going to come forward. Does council wish to, or do they have any further questions on any of the points that were raised, other than point one, which I brought up? Did I see Councilor Stende? Go ahead, Councilor Stende.
I'm just prepared to make a motion if nobody else has any other questions.
Councilor Taylor, do you have any further questions?
I was basically going to speak about the same, along the lines where you were coming from, either reducing or creating a fund for helping people, something like that, and reducing. So if there's no discussion, I'd certainly happy to listen to the motion.
Go ahead, Councilor Stende.
Okay, well, I was going to bring forward the same thing, so I'm glad that council is thinking along the same lines. I didn't vote for a tax increase in December when this was brought forward, and I'm definitely not in favor of a tax increase right now. So my motion would be that council move to give first reading to bylaw 1247-20, being the 2020 property tax bylaw for the town of Blackfalds, with a slight change, removing the 1% tax increase.
Is that acceptable to administration?
I think we need to look a little bit more definitive, right?
We'll refer back to
Great.
Changing it to 0%.
Okay.
So
is that good enough?
For
property taxes.
For property taxes, correct?
Correct.
And I think what we do is we would refer it back, have first reading with the direction to decrease the property tax to 0% for second, and when it's brought back for second and third reading. Is that just what you're moving?
Perfect.
Is that acceptable to administration?
Yes, Your Worship.
Debate on the motion. Councilor Taylor?
No debate.
All those in favor? That is, Councilor Taylor?
In favor.
That is carried unanimously. Thank you. And CO Thompson, project or projection for your update? The project? The funds.
Oh, sorry, Your Worship. Mayor and Council, so over the recent days, we've had some information coming out in the media concerning the injection of stimulus funding provided by the province. This funding would also include an injection of funds from the federal government, and together is anticipated to be approximately $2 billion. The purpose of the stimulus funding is for infrastructure projects and is meant to create job support and demand on the economy, or in the economy. And it's really meant for projects that are shovel ready and that can be initiated for construction this current construction season. Discussion with administration, we feel that the town of Blackfalds is well situated with a number of projects that can be implemented within the short time frame, and that we would like to bring forward for possible funding. These projects include the Center Plaza development in its entirety, along with the Great Street realignment. So those two projects combined really speak to road improvements, stormwater upgrades, and things like that that have been highlighted as part of the stimulus funding. The Northwest Area Stormwater Project as well, which falls under the stormwater. And the third one is infrastructure development to support the high school, including upgrades to Leon Road, the development of Duncan Avenue through All-Star Park, as well as the development of the running track and sport field. It's been identified that a formal grant program and application process is still being developed, but that it may be helpful to draft letters to Alberta, to municipal affairs and infrastructure ministries, identifying the project and community needs that may assist in a successful outcome. Therefore, administration is recommending that a stimulus proposal package be developed to include these three projects, along with a cover letter from mayor and council to go to municipal affairs ministry and infrastructure services ministry to help move possibly this projects to be funded through the stimulus program.
Thank you. Councillor Powell?
Sorry, could you just repeat, you said it was potentially $2 billion program?
Yes, what's been reported is $2 billion. That'd be $1 billion from the province and $1 billion from the federal government.
Okay, thank you.
Subsequent, Councillor Powell?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's a great idea. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Let's find out if there are any more
Proceed.
questions. Any more questions from council? Councillor Taylor?
No questions.
Councillor Powell?
So moved. Unless you-
So the motion is that,
The motion is that council proceed with administration's recommendation to put together a proposal package, and we can provide a letter from mayor and council as well, absolutely.
thank you. Is there any debate on the motion? All in favor? Councillor Taylor?
In favor.
And that is carried unanimously. So moving to 7.1, we have the proclamation request for Youth Week, May 1st to 7th. Director Barnes?
Your worship, council, of course, this has been canceled this year. It's too bad. This would be the second year in a row. Last year was really cool when we had the Oscar event, but I know that we still want to recognize our youth in our community, and I know that our FCSS department will do stuff on social media to make sure that we engage in our youth. So I'd just like to have this proclamation for you and accept it.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Not seeing any. Is someone, and Councillor Stende?
I would move to proclaim May 1st to the 7th, 2020 as National Youth Week in the town of Blackfalds. And I just want to say that I feel really bad that we weren't able to acknowledge our youth, and hopefully it's just a postponement, not a cancellation. We appreciate all of our youth and all of the volunteerism and all of the leadership that they bring to our community. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure from all of council.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stende. I know that a number of us were included in working with the nominations that have come forward from FCSS, and it's an exciting and really, it's inspiring to see the number of applications that have come forward and the quality of the youth that we have within our community. Again, I echo, and I think all of council echoes your hope that this is a postponement. Maybe we can have a special ceremony. We don't care whether it's July 1st. And look forward to recognizing all the amazing volunteers, the youth in our community. So with that, motion's on the floor. All those in favor? Councillor Taylor?
In favor.
And that is carried unanimously. Moving to the information items. (8.1) East Area Stormwater Project Phase 1 update. Thank you, Director Warren. I think that was an excellent update that you provided, and it provided a lot of really good information. The pictures and everything were really, a picture says 1,000 words. Building permit and development report.
One comment.
Go ahead.
Well, we're starting off to a great year. Now, if, one compliment I have to give to our premier. I don't know any premier has worked as hard as he has, and the effort he has to get our oil and gas industry, giving it some hope of surviving. When we get through this, through where we're at, maybe when we come back, we'll see some housing purchases and some movement there. We still could top out with a $47 million year if there's enough year left when we get through this.
Thank you. And thank you for your comments regarding Premier Kennedy. 8.3, Blackfalds Protective Services Monthly Report. Questions or comments? (8.4) Birmingham University School, and that's the Small Business Center information. And I'd like to emphasize that I think that this is a relationship that Blackfalds should be really developing with our neighbor to the north. Birmingham University has a lot of good initiatives, and as we move forward with our high school, I think that we could possibly find some really positive ways that we can work in conjunction with them on this and other initiatives. Councillor Pell?
Thank you. Yeah, we saw this information at the tech meeting earlier in March. I'm wondering if now with all the things going on, if they're offering any of those classes virtually, and if so, should we be writing that information out as well?
CO Thompson?
We can look into that a little bit further.
Just because, yeah, the info is in the pamphlet, we're all in-person classes.
Thank you for that comment. 8.5, Lacombe County Council highlights. Any comments? Do you celebrate the town of Blackfalds County, Lacombe County ICF agreement? It was a fairly long process, but I think that it's something that we worked on together, and together we formed a really good understanding of each other's positions and how we can move forward in a positive manner. Is there anything that anybody wants to ask about any of those 5 items? Not seeing any, could I get a motion to accept for information? Deputy Mayor?
I move to accept items 8.1 to 8.5 as information.
Debate on the motion, all in favor? Councillor Taylor?
In favor.
And that is carried unanimously. Now, for the roundtable discussion, I know we don't have any this evening, but I'm proposing to council that for the next meeting, we cancel our formal roundtable presentation. I think that it would be extra work that will say pretty much we attended a few teleconferences or webinars. So unless there's any objection, then we will bring it up next time, and if anybody wishes to talk about anything that they've done, that will be fine, but we won't we won't ask everybody to put it in this Thursday, I believe it's due for. Adoption of the regular minutes, 10.1. Are there any errors or omissions? Not seeing any. Motion to accept as presented. Deputy Mayor?
I move to accept the regular council meeting minutes of March 24th as presented.
Thank you. Debate on the motion. All in favor? Councillor Taylor? I think I cut you off, Councillor Taylor.
In favor?
That's carried unanimously. No notices of motion. Business for the good of the council. Does any councillors have anything that they wish to add to it? Not seeing any. We have some confidential items in front of us. Do we wish to go in, move for a break, or just move straight into it? Maybe we'll move straight into it today. So we will say thank you to all those who have attended via live streaming. We will be saying good night for the evening as we move into our confidential items. Have a good evening.